Are you playing business or are you running a business? That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode, another 5-part series that my assistant Aidan and I are going to be recording. This first episode is going to dig into whether or not you are a real business owner. A lot of you think you are, but you might not be. So stick around. We're going to jump right into it.
Good morning, Dan.
Hello.
What's the difference between playing business and operating a real business?
So playing a business versus operating a business is all in the mentality that you're going to have. At the end of the day, somebody who dabbles in a business and they do the checklists one thing at a time, like I got my LLC, right? I got my bank account. I got this, I got that. That's dabbling, playing a business. Operating a business are doing things like sales and marketing that are actually going to move the needle. But a lot of people will say, well, Dan, I need my business account. I need to have my LLC. And you're not wrong, but it's just not as important as, for example, validating your offer. If you've never sold anything, you don't even know if people are going to buy it. Why would you waste time getting an LLC? Why would you waste time designing a logo, et cetera, et cetera? Go and validate your offer by making some sales first. Then we can retroactively go back and do the actual mechanics of it. Really, at the end of the day, everybody wants to say they're a business owner, but that doesn't mean that you actually own a business, right? Anybody can go out and get that certificate and say they own a business, but are you doing it? Are you out there in the trenches, making the moves, building the network, getting people involved behind your cause? Are you hiring employees, right? There's too many damn solopreneurs out there these days. I'm guilty. I'm one of them. I got like 1 or 2 small employees, but anybody can go out in a business and say they run it, but that doesn't mean you're actually participating in entrepreneurship.
So if we look at the fact that having multiple qualifications and not doing things that actually move the needle as being busy, and being operative is more so in the sense of actually working on moving that needle, then why do you think so many business owners confuse the two?
Well, I think it's just, for lack of a better word, lazy. You know, nobody actually wants to do the work. Everybody wants to own a business, but nobody wants to do the work, right? And it comes down, as I just said, being in the trenches and putting in the work, and it sucks. One of my favorite sayings is, I would rather work 80 hours a week for myself than 40 for somebody else. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. That's what you need to be willing to do for the first year, 2, 3 years. 80 hours a week, you have to live, eat, and breathe it. And if you work at a part-time job, God bless you. You know, it ain't easy to balance it. The 9 to 5 is important to keep your bills paid, but the 5 to 9 is when you're actually building that business, and you have to be disciplined. It doesn't matter if you got kids. It doesn't matter if you're tired from work. You got to go out there and grind it. If you don't own a business. You have a hobby. A good symptom of playing a business versus operating a business is quite simply, are you getting high-level things done, or are you just checking off to-do lists? We're all fall guilty to the to-do list problem. And to-do lists are, I need to get an LLC. I need to get my bank account set up. Bigger picture things are, okay, I'm going to get my first sale by the end of this month, right? Or I'm going to get my first $5,000 in sales, whatever your price point is. Okay, now cool. Now we got some big rocks. An old mentor of mine said, your day-to-day activities, small rocks, medium rocks, and big rocks. The small rocks are, I got to do laundry. I got to go to the grocery store, right? The medium rocks are, I need to get my LLC set up. I need to get my business bank account set up. The big rocks are the actual, I need to talk with the marketing guy. I need to talk to my local chamber of commerce. I need to run an ad in the local newspaper. Those are big rocks, right? So what I do personally, when I wake up almost every day, I sit down and I write down my small rocks, my medium rocks, and my big rocks, and I check off my to-do list on the small rocks, and I work my way up to the big ones, and I make sure that I'm getting them done. Q4, right? We're in Q4 right now. What are your Q4 goals versus your single daily goals, right? That's the difference between a big rock and a small rock. You got to do all of it, but you can't ignore the big rocks over here because you're never going to get any traction. And ultimately, that's the difference between operating a business and playing business.
Small rocks, medium rocks, big rocks. Let's go a bit more deeper into that. What's 1 or 2 KPI metrics that you would have the small business operator who's interested in operating and not hobbying focusing on to gauge their success level?
I mean, that's tough because it's going to be subjective to anybody's particular scenario. But really, a big one that you want to keep an eye on is obviously the sales, right? What are you doing each month? If you did 4,000 last month, and at this point in the month you were at 3,000, where are you in this point in this month? Okay, are you on pace to go over that 4,000? If you are, great, keep doing what you're doing. If you're not, then figure out what's going wrong. And that's quantifying things. That's actually laying things out and figuring out whether or not I'm on track. And don't just do it monthly, do it quarterly, do it yearly. And with anything, data is what makes the world go round. Why do you think these social media companies make so much money? It's because they have all of the data. And if you run a business and you're making sales, then you're going to have data. It's how you interpret it. It's how you read it. And it's how you discipline yourself to interpret and read it.
So, why do you think a business owner should chase revenue and focus on sales rather than focusing on anything else?
Well, I disagree. Business owners should not chase revenue. They should be focusing on sales. But let me back up. You shouldn't chase revenue. You shouldn't chase revenue, and you should not chase sales. What you should be chasing is your ability to help solve a problem. And that, in turn, translates into sales and revenue, et cetera, et cetera. For the business owner that chases sales and revenue first, you will not succeed to the level that most of us want to succeed to. However, if you approach your business with a consumer problem approach and you say, okay, how am I helping people? How can I better serve my prospects today? The money will follow. Too many people, they worry about the bottom line. Yes, you have to get paid, but they don't realize that there's a vehicle that drives you to getting paid, and that vehicle is solving the problems for your people. If you're just focused on money, you will flounder.
Money is the result of the vehicle being drove straight and in a straight line for multiple days of actually helping the customer to solve the problem.
Consistency. That's all it is. Consistently trying to help people. And that's why I always advise people, new business owners, if they're looking to get into business and they need money, like to survive, you're not in the right mind frame to get into business. Get your money right first, then jump into business. My worst clients are the people who need money yesterday. My best clients are the ones who have a nice cushion and can be patient with how things proceed, how things evolve going forward. Stay focused on getting your nest egg, your nut, whatever you want to call it, nice and full. Then we can talk business.
So why do you think in that case, many business owners are reluctant to make the switch from being revenue focused to being problem and customer based focused?
I think it's because we live in a world where everybody thinks I need to make all this money. Everybody wants to make money, but they need to solve problems. That you want the money, you need to solve problems. That's it. That's how business works. And if you completely forego the need and you go straight to the want, you will struggle. And too many of us, we only think money. We only think, I need money, I need money, I need money. It goes back to my last point. And they don't know how to do it. Oh, I need to start a business. No, you need to help solve problems. That will become your business, which gets you the money, but you have to start at the root of it. That's how marketing, that's how sales, that's how business goes.
So moving the needle to going towards the outcome that you want, which is focusing on customers and focusing on helping solve a problem so that in turn you get cash, so that in turn you get sales. Then focusing on the sales and seeing if you're at least maintaining, if not increasing from last month, last quarter, last year.
Don't get me wrong, money is obviously very important. It's what makes the world go round, but you need to focus on it and pay attention to what's coming in. I mentioned it earlier. You need to keep an eye on those KPIs, but the engine that drives it, that vehicle, I said, is the problem solving.
So I have one more question for you, Dan. What's the most common task that you've seen that screams fake progress that you see business hobbyists wasting the most hours on that is distinguished from business operators?
Social media. Everybody thinks that if I get a big social media following and I go viral with one of my posts, if my TikTok makes it into the algorithm, that suddenly you're going to have a big business. That is for stay-at-home solopreneur moms that aren't serious about running a business. If you sit there on social media all day trying to get famous, trying to blow up, you are not running a business. You're just a TikTok influencer that's not getting paid. That is the biggest mistake that business owners make. Yes, social media is important, but it is just one cog in the bigger wheel. You need to be paying attention to the entire machine. That's what entrepreneurs do. And whether you admit it or not, you're an entrepreneur if you're running your own business. If not, go work for somebody else. This is the stuff that we business owners have to do, is focus on everything. And if we don't, we will fail. All right, everybody. Hopefully you liked that. Hopefully it hit hard for you. If you've been following me for any point in time, you know that I'm just going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give it to you real. I'm going to give it to you raw. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to make you feel bad. But if the things I say inadvertently make you feel bad, that's on you, not so much me. You need to be hit with that dose of reality. I only do this because the people that gave me these things did the same to me, and it helped me learn. It helped me grow. So hopefully you learned something today. Check you next time on our next episode, which is going to be about strategy. What does it mean? How do you implement it? And how do you use that 60,000-foot view to work your way down into the lower levels, right? It's kind of like the big rock analogy I used earlier. You start at 60,000 with the strategy, and you work your way down 45,000, 30,000, 15,000, and you land that plane, and eventually you have a successful business. That's what we're going to talk about on the next episode. Thanks for listening. We'll check you next time. Bada bing.
Beautiful.
All right.
Bada bing.